part of your body, and if there is a pain, there is definitely a sensation in your brain. So you have to consider the whole human body while you prescribe a medicine, or while you prepare that particular concoction of anything, either it may be a chemicals or natural product, to address the root cause of it. That is what our the great scientists and sages have given us the concept about. Even in modern days, Guyton and Hall in textbook of medical physiology says indeed the human body is much more than the sum of its parts, and life relies upon this total function, not just on the functions of individual body parts in isolation from the other. So this kind of understanding has been taken a back seat while we progress ourselves. While we do, we consider we are doing a lot of science, but these are the wonderful, very static and very hyper kind of thoughts which have been neglected, which needs to be restored. So let us take very simple examples nature has created, amazing creation of examples. Can you just imagine, tie a handkerchief on your eyes and try to move along the street? What will happen? You would realize the importance of eyes in your whole body. We usually do not acknowledge that. We do not express any gratitude about it. What about blood? How much intrinsic? It goes along with the definition of the law of nature. It is intrinsic. It is there in the body. It is created automatically. It is never overflowing out of your body. So the quantity is also managed properly. The requirement of all the body and the whole kind of infrastructure that has been created is highly self-regulatory. And therefore, while we learn the pharmacognosy, we really need to connect with the laws of nature. And this is where I feel that only few things are known through modern sciences. We have not yet reached even 10% of what we call it as a wonderful body. With the advances of science and with the development of time, what we have earned, let me go to that. So earlier we used to talk about a tree, and that tree was good enough for us because it used to give us a needed shadow in the scorching light or the scorching sun. It used to give us wonderful oxygen. It used to give us fruits, and we used to look at the plant based on which fruit it is coming or giving. But then with the advent of science, we have classified them into different parts, and which part is useful to us. Later on, we went deep into the cell components as to what is happening in each cell of the plant body, and we have unfolded the science inside it. Later on, we went on trying a complete plant being generated in a test tube, or we can say the cell cultures. That has been our progress, and then we can just see where our vision has really went wrong. Instead of looking at the mango tree as the tree giving us mangoes, we tried looking into it as the factory of chemicals. We never talked about a mango tree, but we started talking about the inherent ingredients which are responsible for giving us the physiological activities. And this is where I feel our vision has gone blurred. In fact, further, we tried creating the phytochemicals by taking the plant cells, and then a lot of metabolic engineering, and then the stories about extracting the secondary metabolites by the biotechnology, and then we are getting the natural medicine. So same medicine which is available from nature is being created in the laboratory. The further progression in the science, or our, we can say, advances is like taking a drug and then doing the ADME, adverse drug mechanism, screening, finding the active compounds, fishing the targets, trying our drug and then analyzing the pathways and like that. And then finally, we have developed a network. Now, this concept of developing a network pharmacology is basically inspired by the modern sciences, wherein one single drug moiety or the chemical which was given to a body, how it affects the different factors or the different receptors, and what are their physiological outcomes is being examined. Now the same has been tried with a Ayurvedic formulation or the natural product combination, wherein we do not have one single entity in it, but it's a mix of so many ingredients at a go. So what has been, this is the study which was done by done at the Pune University, and we found that there is a absolute, we can say, mix up of so many responses at a go because of the natural products, because we have so many phytoconstituents in it. But then how to resolve it further? We have even gone up to the level of receptors, how the the ingredient is going inside, how it triggers the responses inside, and then ultimately it is realized that okay, this is the mechanism through which drug acts, and then it delivers the activity. But then I wish to take you back to the topic of the day. Before science, before the modern science, what was the system that was existing for thousands of years, which was taking care of the diseases in the society, which was taking care of the problems which were related with health? We found that yes, there were traditional healthcare systems or indigenous health practices which were totally dependent on naturally available substances and also the psychosomatic lines of treatment. Even in the modern ages, we understand that the almost 60% of the total diseases have the we can say psychosomatic lines of treatment, and that kind of a situation was existing beforehand also, which was nicely understood by our ancestors. While we understand where is the place for the traditional or the indigenous systems of practices in today's world, I really is at pain to tell you that when we were promoting the traditional systems of medicines of India, and we were trying to incorporate them in the World Health Organization's complete panel of acceptance of the medications all across the globe. Amongst the traditional systems of traditional systems of medicines of India, we have this Ayurveda, naturopathy, yoga, Unani, homeopathy, and Siddha, because they were empaneled in the WHO because they were having history and basic doctrines of principles. For example, in Ayurveda, we understand that it is based on Panchamahabhuta therapy. Then also they talk about the Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and likewise. So basic doctrine principles were in existence, and therefore there was a global acceptance, and they were accepted by the WHO. But the folk medicines, the indigenous care practices, or the traditional systems of medicines were left behind because of the lack of basic doctrine principles. And this is where, my friend, I wish the pharmacognosys and phytochemists are essential, indispensable to create the science for these particular unattended areas of health management in our country, which really have been missing from our policy documents. So this is where I wish to take you back. Now, just while I was working in this particular area, I found that there were myths that these traditional knowledge holders, or we call them as healers, they are absolutely a close kind of entity, and they do not reveal anything to any person who goes to them and asks them, inquire about them. And what has been the kind of understanding about them has been broken in few years of working along with them. Since 2014, I am working with traditional healers of India, and what I found is that they are also eager to tell you something which we call as treasure of information. Why so? Because they feel that the knowledge that they have inherited for thousands of years is going to be wasted once they die, and from amongst their family or the next generation, the people are not interested to take over that knowledge. Now, what will happen if we lose even one single traditional healers from India? So it would be a loss of lot of, we can say, piece of information which has really given us the necessary cure in last thousands of years. So our pathway to understand we adopted was talk to old generation, talk to traditional community health practitioners in and around you, and then experiential learning by doing work with them, go to the field, and then whatever would be the experience that would come out of your laboratory, disseminate that science through various modes of dissemination. So the story was we starts with 2013 when I was working with the Forest Department of Gadchiroli, and the Principal Conservator of Forest, Dr. T.S.K. Reddy, had organized the first Vaidu Sammelan, wherein we wanted to just have a line of introduction with the traditional healers of Gadchiroli Forest, and just wanted to share them with them that there are going to be few people working hand in hand with them for establishing the science behind their practices. But let me tell you, it was a very bitter experience on 9/1/2013. We had almost decided to meet at 11 a.m. and the invitation went across to the forest guards into the the different villages of that whole big forest. But nobody turned up at that time. We were really surprised as to where we went wrong. And at 4 o'clock, one of the the interpreter and the middleman, he informed us that people are worried about their intellectual property. They feel that if you are going close to them and asking them something, definitely you are going to steal some knowledge out of their practices. So that was the first point of friction, I would say. But we really had a lot of groundwork done. We went there, we went to their respective villages, we met these people, and then we really told them that we are not going to steal, rather we are going to conserve your knowledge, nurture it, and expand it by virtue of the support from our laboratory and the science that we are going to do. And then we found that yes, because of going close, because of disseminating the piece of information that we wish to do, we found that the subsequent Vaidu Sammelans were a big successes, and the basic requirement of confidence building which we initiated went into trust and togetherness. Now we have almost more than 1 lakh traditional healers all across India, even from all South Indian, almost 26 states traditional healers are in contact with me, and I really wish that their work shall be distributed in their areas, and I would be in a position to connect our scientist friend with them, so that the work of we can say standardization or understanding, we cannot say validation because they are already working on a validated platform, but we can really understand through these spectacles of science, and we can come out with the data which is really understood to the next generation. So what we started with was acknowledging the healers and their practices, and this was the Ministry of Ayush biggest congregation of Ayurveda, that is World Ayurveda Congress, which was there in Kolkata. And as per my request and suggestion, we had a parallel session of traditional healers of India. That was for the first time that Ministry of Ayush had given us the permission, and this was a great success, wherein 16 states and 140 healers were brought together. They were the heroes. They were the one who were the speakers and the resource persons, and they were speaking in their dialect, and we had interpreters to tell what they are really telling to us. The scene was they are ready to give, and who were the receptors? At the recepting ends were the scientists from AIMS, were the scientists from CSIR laboratories, were the the professors of Ayurveda colleges all across India. And it was absolutely hailed, and it was a surprising thing for many because of the innovative practices these people are practicing in their different territories. So what we started with is contacting these practitioners, collecting the information, documenting the details given by them, and then also working simultaneously in our laboratories. This is an example which I wish to connect with the nutraceuticals, which I am going to talk about, because this was an experience which was given to us by Organic India company. You might know this is a very big tea manufacturer, natural products company, and based in Lucknow, and is having a turnover of almost now 500 crores rupees. What they do is they manufacture the Organic India tea mostly based on tulsi, and the CEO of that company in 2011 had visited Nagpur, and he came with a research problem actually. He came up and discussed with me that, sir, we as a company in Lucknow, we have tied up with almost 2,400 hectares of land which is owned by small and marginal farmers in Bundelkhand region. However, we are concerned about their cultivation practices. Now I said, why cultivation? Because he said that with the bringing in of Biodiversity Act 2002 and accepting the Biodiversity Act 2002 by the Government of India in 2010, its implementation has started, and slowly, gradually, collection of medicinal plants from the wild is going to be restricted, and at one point of time it will be banned for the industries. And now industries are, if at all they have to incorporate medicinal plants, they have to cultivate it. So this is the best practice. So we have already tied up with so many farmers, and we are giving them the seeds of tulsi, asking them to cultivate. We are giving them the SOP to cultivate, and then whatever harvest is there, we are buying back and making these wonderful products. His concern was the methods of cultivation. He said that the farmers as such have been habitual to use chemical fertilizers and then also the pesticides for the growth of the vegetable and the food products. But they are also probably doing the same for the medicinal plants while we getting it cultivated from them. He was asking us that what is the impact of these two methods of cultivation, means the chemical methods of cultivation and organic natural forest kind of a system, which is absolutely natural. What would be its impact on the phytoconstituents of the medicinal plants? And this was the research problem. He said no work all across the world has been done in this particular fashion to understand the impact of cultivation methods on the phytoconstituents. So we selected, we took up the challenge, and there was one PhD student who has been given the task. His name was Mohammad Tawqir, and we selected a group of known plants which can be grown in a span of 6 months time, so that we can have number of samples for its analysis. And you can understand it was a PhD program, so it was going for 5 years, and the whole study was designed in a very absolutely scientific way. We had so many collaborations with Punjab Krishi Vidyapit for agricultural planning and like that, and then a complete set of anti-diabetics and the plants which can be grown in 6 months were tried. One amongst few amongst them are in front of you, Karela and Methi. We know that they are there, and we started with the analysis of soil. Now the pharmacognosist, his role doesn't start only after getting a sample in your laboratory. You have to really step out and start working. So we worked with the soil survey of Maharashtra, and we have got the soils tested, wherein we are going to have the experimentation. These were the results. We will not go into that, but you will be surprised that while we were looking for a good land for having the cultivation of medicinal plants, so that our results are authentic and accepted all across. So we had done a lot of survey in and around where to start this experimentation, but unfortunately all the conditions which are necessary for having the land organic were failed, because some or other way the farmers in Vidarbha, they were using the chemicals and pesticides, and their farms were affected with these kind of entities. But the land which was available in the campus of Rashtra Santa Tukolji Maharaj Nagpur University, in our own campus, it was unplowed for almost last 50 years. So there was no chance of adding any chemicals and fertilizers in that, and that land was considered as the best land for doing this experimentation. And this was helped by us by the Punjab Krishi Vidyapit for having the manures. We have taken use of the Go Vigyan Anusandhan Kendra, and you can see that we prepared the biodynamic organic manure for the crops that we were supposed to take for the organic side, and in the non-organic manure, very known urea granules, superphosphate, potash, all these kind of chemicals were used. And the parallel study was decided. We had marked the fields for the cultivation of these plants, selected plants. Then we have prepared the organic insecticides and fungicides. The things are in front of you, wherein we used traditionally consumed Azadirachta indica and Alam cetamine for their insecticidal and fungicidal properties. Monocrotophos and Zyme were the insecticide and fungicide taken for study from the chemical side, and the whole thing were done in a parallel way. On the same day, seeds were sowed, and then the progression of their growth was observed. So in a very, we can say, controlled environment, we had this study. OTF here in the picture talks about the organically cultivated Trigonella phenanthricum, and NTF is non-organically, wherein we use the chemical fertilizers. And you can see right from their growth parameters, the number of leaves, the number of flowering buds, the number of we can say branchlets, everything was taken into consideration, and we had a big team of botanists along with us looking into the progression. Now, what was significant here was that everything, right from the height, branches, flowers, secondary roots, everything was more in case of the plants which were grown by organic side. But what we found is that the non-organic cultivated, means chemically cultivated Trigonella phenanthricum showed the higher mean value of weight of plant. Ultimately, higher overall yield. Because when we talk about the yield, we usually weigh. So farmer is supposed to weigh his goods and then sell and get the more money. So that was one point grossly we found in morphological measurements, that the weight of the plant cultivated by chemicals was more as that of the organic ones. But let me share one good experience. Adjacent to my cabin was his the practical lab, and when the products were harvested and they were brought into the laboratory, after harvesting, after 2 days, Tokir came to me and said, "Sir, I want to show you some observation." What is that? I said, "Sir, please come to the laboratory." I went to the lab, and he had kept the bunches of Trigonella phenanthricum, that vegetative body, differently on different tables. He said, "Sir, I want to show you that the chemical fertilizers and pesticide used, this entity has lost almost its life. It was drooping down. It was absolutely lifeless kind of. But even after 2 days, the organically cultivated, Trigonella phenanthricum was holding that particular life in it." Now, that is the first impression, that how the nature has the sustenance, the holding of life capacity in the organically cultivated, because there we had used the the biodynamic mass, the cow urine, the cow dung. That was the source of nourishment for those plants. And then we went on doing the pharmacography, wherein we have observed the microscopic features and noted all the differences. Those are coming, which are not significant to be told right now. But when it came to the nutritional analysis, this is the scene that is in front of you. Why I'm saying that we have not tested it only from the angle of the medicine, but also as a nutrition. That is our vegetable. So when we did that, we found that the amount of energy that is available in that plant, which was grown by organic means, that is OTF, was higher as compared to the non-organically cultivated. And the non-nutritional factors, this is another important point to be noted, that total ash and the ash kind of things which are not good for our lives, were quite high as compared to the organic ones in the non-organic. So chemical fertilizer has shown its impact on these parameters. And then non-nutritional factors like oxalates and phytates, they were almost 4 to 5 times more as compared to that of the organic ones. However, if you see the good ingredients like vitamin C, the bitters, they were higher in the organically cultivated. So all this was taking us towards certain understanding, and which I am sharing with you. Later on, we were concerned about what is the percentage of heavy metals in these plants. So we found that yes, almost 6 to 8 times higher presence of the lead in the plant which was non-organically, means chemically treated one. And once it means that if you are doing your cultivation of medicinal plants by chemical means, naturally you would get more heavy metals or their presence would be more. In case of the pesticidal residues, we found that almost, to the extent of 80%. So naturally in the organic one, you are not supposed to get anything, but where we use monocrotophos, its presence on the leaves of the Trigonella phenangraecum was exorbitant, which is absolutely harmful to the person who is going to consume it. Now we went on further for our studies in the laboratory, wherein we did the extractions and we did the exploration, qualitative presence of the secondary metabolites which are responsible, say from Trigonella phenangraecum or all the 6 plants which we had taken for study. They were known anti-diabetics, again I'm going to tell you, and therefore the constituents responsible for delivering this anti-diabetic activity were screened in the laboratories, and we had this quantification done. And what we found, this is the slide which is more interesting for all pharmacognosists and phytochemists, that all the significant good secondary metabolites responsible for the delivery of the anti-diabetic activity was found absolutely higher in the organically grown Trigonella phenangraecum. As compared to that, we have seen that there are low levels of secondary metabolites in the non-organic, means the chemically cultivated. We went further, we did the HPTLC chromatogram. We have quantified based on the standards which are used usually for the validation or the standardization of these plants. And what we found is that, like, diagenin was one of the marker which was tried. We found that in the OTF seeds, so usually methi dana is used for giving the anti-diabetic activity. The usual practice is soak that methi dana overnight and then drink the extract next morning and chew the seeds like that. So if you find that the percentage of diagenin is more in OTF, there is no surprise because it has been naturally grown as compared to that of the NTF. And same way in the leaves also we found more quantity of the active constituents. So we went further deep with the advances in the science, and we went in using the HPLC, and we have found that yes, the constituent is properly detected in the system, and we have quantified that there is a definite increase in the presence of secondary metabolites through HPLC as well. Now, what remains important to natural product development scientist is not only to look into the chemistry part of it, not only to look into the formation part of it, but also when we try to establish any drug, we usually have to do the toxicity assays, and then the efficacy assays come. And herein we tied up, we had a collaboration with biotechnology department, that is called as Rajiv Gandhi Biotechnology Center here. And they had a very wonderful protocol of testing the toxicity of any material, and that was based on the bioluminescent bacteria. So the first slide, that is A, you can see a lot of light in the first slide, and all those zones 1 to 10, and then C is the control. All those were glittering with the passage of the light, and this shows that these bioluminescent bacteria are alive. And once you give any drug or anything that you want to test, if it is toxic to the life, the bioluminescence will droop down, it will come down. Now what is important here is that in organically treated Trigonella phenangraecum extract, we found that the life existed, the life was sustained. However, when we gave the lowest concentration of non-organically cultivated Trigonella phenangraecum, same medicinal plant, it has killed the bacteria, and the luminescence was dropped down. What we found is that the EC50 values, and we found that at the lower concentration, the non-organically cultivated Trigonella phenangraecum was able to kill the bacteria. Now, after having done the toxicity as per our protocol, we went on to understanding the efficacy part. And this is the the one slide which I have kept for all of you in front, wherein as usual we have done the diabetic protocol, and we have got the the standards and everything. But we wanted to know the difference between what kind of activity we get from organically cultivated Trigonella phenomenium and non-organically. So there were two concentrations. We have tried many, but I have just clubbed in only two concentration, 100 and 200 mg per kg. And what we have really found was that the meaning of having anti-diabetic activity to Trigonella phenomenium means they were telling you to use only the naturally available Trigonella phenomenium, means the organically cultivated. And this was validated. This was, we can say, thumbed up by the readings that we got. And you can see that even at 100 mg per kg, we found a better activity, better percentage decrease in the blood glucose that was achieved as compared to the non-organically cultivated. Even 200 mg per kg when we had given, there was no significant drop in the blood glucose level. What I wish to tell you here is that if you are unaware about the source of plant material, whether it is coming from the natural or the organic source, or whether it is coming from things like chemically cultivated ones, then there would be difference in the activity expression. Why so? It is because of mainly the above results which I have shown you. So it means that you are giving something which is known in general as anti-diabetic, but is not able to deliver the results. Rather, it may harm you because it has got better, more percentage of the heavy metals. It has got percentage of pesticides in it, and there were presence of high amount of non-nutritional factors, which is going to harm you more than giving you the benefit. It is just like आपको अमृत दे दिया और अमृत के साथ में जहर भी घोल के दे दिया, so what would be the outcome? So my tagline at the end of this study and to share with you all is that yes, we are going to follow the Biodiversity Act accepted by India, and this act is not only for, made by India. It is a global act to conserve our forests, to conserve our natural habitats. That is good, but then the alternative means the cultivation of medicinal plants has to be coming from the naturally cultivated means only. While we did further study in the area which is around 100 kilometers away from Nagpur, we tried to work with one of another student from botany whom I guided for the nutraceuticals, was Dr. Chetana Ladda, and we did a complete mapping of Bhiyapur Tehsil, and we did mapping in the sense there were around 20 villages which were jotted down for our study. And what we tried to understand was what kind of food practices, what kind of health management practices are there in these 20 villages, and which were traditionally taken over by the generation. And therefore we really talked to the older generation of the villages, and we tried to understand what kind of leafy vegetables were used to be eaten throughout the year in the households in the past, what kind of recipes they used to prepare from the naturally available I won't say medicinal plants, but the edible plants which were around us. And during those times, there were no big markets. There was no transport of the vegetables from one big city to many villages and like that. That kind of thing was not there. Everything was dependent on the local and the indigenous, bounty of, we can say, the plants which was bestowed to them by the nature. So we went on talking. We started identifying. Yes, we also realized that sometimes some 30 years back, 20 years back, even we also used to get these wild edible plants available in the Nagpur market. But with the growth of Nagpur as a metro, we found that these things are missing, absolutely missing from our platter. So we started understanding. We went on doing the surveys. We started talking to the traditional healers like this Patki Bapu was there from Bhiyapur. And we just noted down all the information. You can see vendors in the village market, and then we articulated a list. We found that at any given point of time throughout the year, there are almost 25 to 30 different types of vegetables coming from either the small shrubs, herbs, or big trees were available for the local and indigenous people. They were not at all dependent upon the market. So where these things have gone? So I realized that people from the villages, they are blindly following the people living in the metros and the big cities because they feel they are learned, because they feel they are more educated, and whatever they are eating, why should I not eat the same? And therefore, a village, now you will find that the vegetables are coming from cities, they are transported back to villages, and they have almost forgotten that their own surrounding has been so rich to have this kind of plants. We have listed almost 33 plants, and when we worked along with the ASHA workers who were responsible for maintaining the records and nutrition of the children in the villages, we found that yes, these were the plants which were absolutely available free of cost. And as we usually do not the value things which comes freely, the biggest example is our, we can say, body itself that we have received it so free of cost, and we generally really consider it worthless because we really ignore and put it into use it as a dumping ground. We keep on eating many things. Now when we came out with this kind of findings that things are available in and around, why don't you market these to the city people? So we started disseminating whatever has came out of our laboratory through the conventions which are organized for the farmers. And I am very happy to tell you that almost 160 acres of land around Nagpur now has gone into cultivation of medicinal plants by organic ways. And those young farmers who wish to do something different than the traditional practices of farming are working hand in hand with the scientists, with the team that we have here. We had a very big congregation of scientists in 2015. International Conference of Ethnopharmacology was taken, wherein 22 states, in 22 countries, scientists were part of this wonderful deliberation. And while I was referring to some industrial projects, like I have shared one story with Organic India, herein is another growth story of hilarious Ayurveda, wherein one non-science student, he was a commerce background, was good in selling. He came to me with a desire that can we give him some formulation, a new formulation which he can sell in the market and organize his bread and butter. So we did the complete formulation of this product called as Dactral. And what was the story thereafter? He has given us a letter which says that in the last line, I'll say that our first product, Dactral, whose initial research was done at your department, awarded as the best novel Ayurveda medicine in December 2016 by Gujarat government at national level, Ayurvedic and natural product exhibition organized by Ayush, and now this product is sold across India and globe. So we were happy in giving. Actually, we as a pharmacognosist really are very strong entity in the whole scenario of drug development or the formulations development, because there is lack of data related with all these practices, all these products. So there was another very young guy. He was an IIT graduate, IIT Powai, Mumbai graduate, and who went on just a jungle safari to Melghat region, wherein a lot of malnutrition related cases were there. So he was really worried. He said that, sir, there are so many NGOs working in alleviation of malnutrition in that region for almost 30-40 years, and they are getting so much of international funding, and the products which we considered as health promoters, like the protein dabbas and all like those kind of things. So but he came up with a research problem. He said, sir, what might be the problems? I said, nobody has focused upon the locally available we can say the strength of nature that has been given to them. So why don't we focus upon the things which are locally available, because God has really given us everything in and around. So a person can sustain his life, he can progress and like that. And then we really made a product which was found to be absolutely wonderful in alleviating malnutrition in a very selected group of school-going students in Melghat. And that study was done by my student Rasika Rangari. We are working with farmers of our region and are continuously guiding them in terms of the level of phytoconstituents in their product, the time of absolute maturity at which they should harvest the product, and not based on the simple the counting of time that 3 months has done and therefore 3 months of cultivation is done and therefore harvest it. No, you should first get your product sample tested and see that whether it has been showing the highest percentage of secondary metabolites or not. If not, probably this vegetative mass is not going to deliver any physiological activity. And these are the farms along with whom we are working. And let me show you this platter. Just so the story that I was telling you about the availability of the naturally available resources, the wild but edible plants around 20 villages of Bivapur Tehsil. And after having a discussion with the elders, we found that they were the part of their nutrition, and the ASHA workers were given the task of collecting this information of how the recipes were used to be done in the earlier days, and all Dada, Nana, Nanis were taken into the survey. And then we hold a competition with Dr. Dhabekar and Dr. Radha, A.N. Radha of NIN, that is National Institute of Nutrition. And we found that exceptionally good, wonderful, recipes which were earlier part and parcel of our day-to-day nutrition were made, and they were, kept on just sharing the piece of information with the masses. And this is the kind of a sensitization program that we had. And when we talked about COVID, we know that ultimately we had to look around and see what is available with us, because you cannot travel, you cannot come out of your houses, but the house has a surrounding. It has got some inherent medicines available given by the nature, and all these plants. When I started looking into say tulsi, even the belpatra, Agile marmalos, I was really surprised to go into the literature that all these plants, which you will feel that yes, they are truly Indian ones, they are very near to my home, like that, you would realize that. But if you tip into the research papers and publications, you will be surprised to know that Chinese have done a lot of work in the span of 2005 to 2018. You will find all different kind of papers based on the activities like antiviral activities against the SARS-CoV. So when there was a we can say outbreak in 2003 for the SARS, and what they did was really giving us a feeling of hurt that we really are not looking into our own strengths, and other people, the other country scientists, they are working hard on establishing the traditional practices which were there in India for thousands of years. So all these plants, you can go and search the research papers, you will find that they are all antivirals and have been tested against the SARS virus. So this is something which is an eye-opener, and this is where, as Hanumanthacharya sir was telling us, that we really are undermining our strengths. Pharmacognosy and phytochemistry is one branch, probably it is the only branch which can assist our nation in becoming a Vishwaguru, because the data, the piece of science that we can do, no other branch of science will be able to give the justice. And therefore, we must get the proper role to play in the field of pharmaceutical sciences, in the establishment of new drugs, or for revalidation, standardization, validation, understanding of the existing traditional practices. This is amazing, because if you take an example of Artemisia, we have seen that from the traditional Chinese medicines, Professor Yu too worked hard, worked very hard, and she could isolate artemisinin, and then the I think 2018 or something, the Nobel Prize went to her. The whole lead was from a traditional kind of a piece of information which was there in TCM. However, even though we have so much of information available from ancient Ayurveda and indigenous practices of sciences, you can imagine how many number of patents we can have in future, how many Nobels can come out from India, and all these were the arsenals. You can reaffirm, you can confirm that we all have used this for the purpose of management of the corona in our houses. While we remain safe, we wanted to keep all our society, all people from India and all across the globe to be healthy, and therefore this piece of integration is needed. What we really want to show you is that acknowledge, appreciate, interact with the medicine man or the traditional healers who are around us. Do not denigrate them. Acknowledge. Let us go close to them and share the information. Here is the wonderful photo wherein you can see Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, who is the president of Vigyan Bharati, Dr. Y.K. Gupta, the renowned clinical pharmacologist from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, the ICMR doctor, and all of them were very keen to understand what is lying underneath, which was left, so far ignored. Can we really have a kind of a hand-holding with them? And that is the platform which Appa will also support. And I would also, wish to, have your own thoughts on integration with all these people and how can we build the science for India so that India will become a Vishwaguru. So while I summarize my talk, I wish to provide all the wisdom in our research for establishing a panacea from natural sources. While we do this, we do not have to forget the rule of nature, which I have defined. It has to be intrinsically automatic. Go along with what nature is trying to tell you about. Therefore, preserving the holiness, aesthetically extending technological advantages. We have to use the technologies those are available and would be coming in future, and developing the scientific evidences by keeping the heart, mind and intuition altogether receptive. So this was only one component of studies that we have been doing. We have so many branches to work with, and which if I got a chance sometime in future, I would be taking you to the different world. Today I have taken you to the field and the need of organically cultivated medicinal plants, which would act as a wonderful nutraceuticals, as a nutrition, or as a pharmaceuticals henceforth. And this is what I keep on loving, and while I do work. And I really acknowledge all those people, all my students, all the scientific community who have really given us a thought, and they have given us the opportunity to work along with them while we come out with the data and the results. So it's we, and before I say thanks to all of you, I would like to recite a prayer for all of you. This is in Hindi, and this is called the Vishwa Prarthana. So it's a Prarthana for all, everyone in the universe. He Ishwar sabko sanmati de, arogya de, sabko sukh de, anand aur aishwarya de, सबका भला कर, कल्याण कर, रक्षण कर, और तेरा मीठा नाम मुख में निरंतर रहने दे. And whatever I could tell you was the experience, and that experience came out with the association of so many organizations at a go. And these are all in front of you. Moreover, I have been working with almost 24 industries who are small players, MSME, to a bigger company like Baidyanath Research Foundation, and all those supporters, collaborators, sponsors, who have given us an insight and the opportunity to work into the problems of, we can say, relevance to the society. So I'm very happy doing that, and I wish to really express my sincere gratitude to all of them. I wish to thank all of you for your patient hearing on this online platform, in this online seminar. And I would like to stop here and would like to take questions, if any, from you. Thank you so much.
So, I'm Dr. Kamal Yadav.
Yes, sir.
All the participants are really, I am chairman of this session. Here it gives my pleasure to listen a wonderful session, actually wonderful lecture. So traditionally available natural sources, how to useful to human beings, really wonderful. The lecture was almost a very interesting session, actually, very informative gatherings, informative collections of various plants are there. So there's a naturally available number of plants which play a crucial role to the healthcare system. That is naturally synthesized, naturally grown up, useful to human beings, not only human beings and all living organisms also depend upon natural resources. Really wonderful. Actually, that it's a miracle. What are the traditional sources are there? Really wonderful. Now this tough time, like COVID-19 pandemic situation, this knowledge is very needful to us. Really wonderful. So I don't want to take much more time. Everybody knowledge on this task. And also, I requested all the participants, suppose if you want to ask any questions for Prakash sir, really I appreciate, sir, personally appreciate Prakash sir. So, and also appreciation to the all the participant and but listening of your patience, and requested to all the participants, anybody is interested to ask the questions to Prakash sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Myself, Dr. G. Bhavashankar Rao from Anurag University. We thank you very much, sir. Your session is very excellent and we got good insights from your talk. I just want to ask a question from this topic. What is the suppose if we are going with organic farming, when you compare with the normal cultivation, what is the percentage yield in the secondary metabolites in general? You expect when if you are going for organic farming?
Right. Thank you so much for asking this question, because this was the point of time when we focused our attention while doing this particular research with Organic India on secondary metabolites only. See, it's a very, we can say, microscopic thing, or we can say very small vision of ours, who are working in this field, to focus only on secondary metabolites. And that was our point of address also during the research. What we found was that there was not much difference. See, 0.34 microgram per ml and 0.27 microgram per ml. So suppose 0.34 was found in the organically cultivated, and 0.27 was found in non-organic cultivated, chemically cultivated. Figures say that it is higher in organically cultivated. That is good. That gives us happiness. But there were multiple occasions, means since we had taken 6 plants, there were few plants wherein we didn't see any significant difference in the percentage of secondary metabolites. Probably we would have failed if we would have made the statement that there is no difference, significant difference in the secondary metabolites of the medicinal plants cultivated by either this method or the chemical method. That would have, ultimately, failed the whole research by saying that. But when we went further and did the toxicity assay, we found that yes, the presence of secondary metabolites is same, almost coming same. But then why the bioluminescent bacteria are dying? So that's what I wish to tell you, that when we say pharmacognosy, we have to again take a gross view and not a single phytoconstituent or a secondary metabolite as matter of research. We all know that we have very high limitation about the availability of the markers. See, if you have 100 constituents in one plant, and if you are standardizing one plant based on one phytoconstituent, how much it is rational? It is not. And that is what I wish to tell you, that there were plants wherein the secondary metabolite percentage was almost same, but still the plant which was cultivated with chemical method, the extract of it was showing more damage to the life than the activity, the desired anti-diabetic activity was absolutely low, even though we had a good percentage of the secondary metabolites. Why that has happened? That's what I was telling you, that along with the Amrita, if you give Visha, and that study was taking us back to the nutritional and anti-nutritional assays that we did, wherein we found that nutritionally the plant was better when it was grown by organic means, but the anti-nutritional factors which are harmful to our body were quite high, almost 8 to 15 times more in the same medicinal plant cultivated by chemical methods. So I think you have got the answer. It is not only the secondary metabolites or we call it as the active constituent. It is not. When the plant is going to deliver activity, it would be a gross of the so many constituents coming to you. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, sir. Any others, sir? Asked questions. Anybody interested to ask the questions?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, very clear. Please.
Sir, myself, Dr. Prashant from Nirmala College of Pharmacy, Motivida, Kerala. Sir, it was indeed a very good seminar, and it was very boosting for me as a pharmacognosist. So, as sir, you have talked that you have contacts with so many healers and so many meetings has been conducted with them. And
Yes.
from your experience, what do you feel that whether the healers are using a mixture of drugs, but in the most of the nutraceuticals, we can see a mixture of herbs, but the healers are actually maybe using a single herb like that. Any contradiction have you faced?
Yes, it is a very good question, and thank you for asking that, because while working with them, I really understood that how the nature has categorized the plant. Like for example, I would take one element that is called as a bone breaking. है ना? हड्डी टूट गई है, and you have to rebuild it. Now, very first thing is that allopathy do not have the answer. There is no medicine from allopathy. Now there are these healers. Now a healer who is just 50 kilometers away from my city uses the local plants, and he gives the lepa, he gives the oral medication, and he says that within 8 days, if there is a crack in your bone, he will heal it. If there is a break, complete broken, if it is there, it will be healed in 21 days. Now he is using his own surrounding and getting the the plants from his region. If you travel further another 50 kilometers, there is another healer who is having another plant, another way of healing the same, but the outcome is same. So he has also healed the bone in the same stipulated time. My Chhattisgarh traditional healer Avdesh Gupta, he guarantees you, if your bone is cracked, it will be healed within 72 hours. If it is broken, it will be healed in 8 days. And there was a very good experience in my home only. My own sister, after having come from Kolkata, I was going to NCL, the National Chemical Laboratory in Delhi for another event that was called as India International Science Festival. I had checked in the airport, Nagpur airport, and I got a call from my sister, and she was saying that, brother, I met with an accident, and I am, people have taken me to the side of the road. Can you come and pick me and take me to the doctor? I don't know what has happened, but I'm not able to move. I said, see, I have checked in, I have a flight. I will tell my another brother, brother-in-law to come to you and take you. So, and in the meantime, I talked to Avdesh Kumar Kashyap from Chhattisgarh, and who was, claiming this. So I just, challenged him. I said, see, such and such thing has happened. What can we do? He said, sir, can you please share me the X-ray of what has happened, and then I would suggest you the medication. And that thing has happened. I went to Delhi, I reached Delhi, and my brother-in-law, he took her to Vokad Hospital, and they found that this collarbone was broken. Now here, the modern sciences is absolutely failing, because here you cannot use anything else, even you cannot plaster. So Dr. Satyajit Jagtap, he set the bone around, and he gave a belt to her with a suggestion that she cannot move for another 1 month time. She cannot lift even a glass of water, and restrict all her movements. Now, the X-ray was, sent to me by WhatsApp. I sent it to Avdesh, and Avdesh said, sir, this is broken. So what I will do, as I had uttered, I will send the courier, the oral medicine. It was not even the LAPA, oral medicine to your home, and you start the medication. On third day, we got the medicine. She started taking it. And believe me, on 10th day, means after 8th day of consuming the medication sent by Avdesh ji, when the checkup was there, the doctor was, like absolutely surprised. The bone was completely healed. On 14th day, she was back to her job. What I mean to say, these healers are wonderful people, and they use the local things. So there is no standard. They either use one single one, or they have the preparations, but they are own, that is their intellectual property, and that we really need to support, instead of taking off anything out of them and presenting it only in our name. Let us take their name also along with us. Let us have a patent in their name, because they cannot do the science. We can do it in the laboratory, but we can put their name, make others big. You will become big. That is what the whole formula, and that is where the beauty of India is. We are the 8th biggest biodiversity, and we can imagine the quantum of wealth that we have around us, which we have not yet understood. We, as a pharmacogeneticist, are bestowed with this responsibility. We must move out and talk to people who know all this science before they leave this world. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions are there from the delegates? Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Any questions are there from the delegates? Kindly ask the questions.
Instead, I would appeal all, because I am accessible through Appa, and therefore I would, request all of you to become the part and parcel of APPA, and give us strength. Probably you are joining us means the organization, the thought process, the whole concept of giving a proper weightage to pharmacognosy, phytochemistry in pharmaceutical sciences curriculum. That is going to be strengthened by your joining us. So thank you all for being with us. So, thank you.
Sir, small request, sir.
Sir, please.
Sir, provide your email ID and WhatsApp number, sir. So anybody interested to say, asked questions or sent to questions through by mail or WhatsApp number of Prakash sir.
I did that in the chat box. I sent it. My email ID I have shared.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I said my
Really
WhatsApp number as
wonderful. Actually, nowadays, so many tribals are there. They have thorough knowledge on the various medicinal plants. Actually, they collected from various researchers like forest areas. Really wonderful. You have done good work, sir. So, biggest problem is first of all the medicinal plant market. Actually, market problem is very lacuna. That is very. Some normal farmers also come forward to cultivate some of the important medicinal plants, but the marketing problem is one of the very not available in proper way. Like now, in some cluster, some of the farmers also farmed in cluster, and also they want to cultivate some of the medicinal plants. But any state government, any like agencies, like they are. Didn't give the proper guidance to the cultivation and also marketing. So that is the problem, sir. Thank you very much, sir. You are a very wonderful session today. I really delighted, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Ramesh, sir, I request to Suresh Babu, sir. So you propose to vote of
Thank you.
decision, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone. I request Dr. Suresh Babu to render the vote of thanks, sir. Suresh Babu, sir.
Unmute yourself, sir.
Sir, unmute your audio, sir.
Yeah.
Can I add?
Sir, remove the mask,
Can you hear,
sir.
madam?
Mask, remove the mask, sir. Yes.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Suresh Babu, Department of Pharmacognosy Vikas, Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. It is a great privilege to propose vote of thanks today national webinar on traditional organic nutraceutical as panacea. My sincere thanks on behalf of all Appa core committee members, on behalf of all the participants of this webinar. I extend my sincere thanks to today's speakers, Dr. Prakash Itnakar sir, Professor, Head of the Department of Pharmacognosy. I would like to extend my warm thanks to all APA core committee members, President Joshi sir, and Secretary Dr. Ashok Kumar sir, and Joint Secretary Dr. C.S. Kandaswamy sir, and Dr. Baba Shankar sir. I express sincere thanks all the participants and also actively participant all the delegates in this webinar. Once again, I express my sincere thanks to organizers Dr. Ashok Kumar sir, Dr. Chetty College of Pharmacy, and in association with SBD Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Bengaluru, and also in association with the IPA local branch. This webinar is, I think this webinar is giving knowledge about the nutraceuticals usage in the human being life. So I express my sincere thanks to all the participants and also all the APA core committee. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you. And
Thank
very
you,
soon,
sir.
we would be able to meet along with the traditional healers in Mysuru in SFE International Conference organized by JSSUT. So one of our parallel session would be with the traditional healers. You can meet them, you can interact with them. All of you.
Thank you, sir.
Surely we will meet them.
Yes, sir. Sure, we shall meet you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, kindly can you make me a co-host? I had to share the certificate, sir.
Please check.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir. Yes, sir, I am able to share. Just a minute, sir.
Yeah.
I request Dr. Ashok Kumar, sir, to hand over the certificate to the soft copy of a certificate to Dr. Prakash, sir. Sir, over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you for your nice presentation. It's our honor to hear your the wonderful seminar. Hereby we are giving the certificate. Kindly receive the certificate, sir. Madam?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Prakash, sir. And thank you others who have attended the webinar, sir. Thank you one and all. And I request Dr. Prakash, sir, to kindly select one best delegate. Sir, Prakash, sir.
Yes, please. Actually, I got a
Sir,
call. Yes, please.
sorry, I think you couldn't hear. I request you to select a best delegate.
I'll let you know.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank
I
you
would
so
like
much,
to
sir.
Just thank everyone who have been there. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I will leave the meeting now. Right.